The ocean is a vast, mysterious world, and it's no wonder we land dwellers often feel a mix of awe and fear about what might be lurking beneath its surface. Today's collection of videos is here to reinforce that sense of mystery, showcasing the strange and sometimes unsettling life forms that call the deep sea home. Brace yourself as we explore 20 mysterious deep-sea creatures caught on camera. Number 20. Strange blob-like creatures in California. By-the-wind sailors, also known as velella, are creatures that inhabit the surface of the ocean. With their translucent, sail-like bodies, they drift across the open sea, propelled by the wind and the ocean's currents, hence their common name. By-the-wind sailors can be found in various oceans around the world, often gathering in large numbers during certain seasons. Their distinctive blue floats, resembling miniature sailboats, provide them with buoyancy and allow them to use the power of the wind. Beneath the float, they have polyps that capture small prey for nourishment. These fascinating creatures have a symbiotic relationship with the wind, as it guides their movements and determines their fate. While some may get stranded on beaches after strong winds, others navigate successfully across vast distances. They create a stunning spectacle when mass strandings occur. They wash up in large numbers because of the way they travel. They literally end up wherever the wind may take them. It is often the shores of California where they are frequently sighted. Sometimes millions of them can appear on the beaches. Although it may look like the coming of the apocalypse, experts in such matters say this is a normal part of these creature cycles and nothing to be concerned about. The ones that get stranded like this will die or be pulled back in by the tide. Number 19. Mystery reptile near North Carolina. Next up, we have a creature that was spotted in the water just off the coast of North Carolina. The first poster of the video wrote, "Whales or the Loch Ness Monster in the port this morning," which could mean that it was a whale. But then, the internet got a hold of it, and off we go again into mysterious creature territory. Look at that. This short video shows a creature surfacing briefly before dipping back down beneath the waves. After all the daft suggestions, from the Loch Ness Monster to an enormous snake, an alligator, or a manatee, it was finally concluded that this was, in fact, a North Atlantic whale calf that had strayed from her mother and was just popping up to the surface. North Atlantic whales are actually a well-known presence along this stretch of coastline, as it is part of their annual migratory route. This species is endangered and has been listed as such since 1970. It is now believed that there are fewer than 350 of these whales left in the wild. Number 18. Bloody belly comb jelly. Although they are called jellies, these bloody belly comb jellies are actually ctenophores and not true jellies. They do, however, navigate the water in a similar way by beating their cilia. That's the stuff that looks like hair but is used by the jelly to propel itself through the water. The clever thing about this particular species is the way in which it is colored. That blood-red belly is almost invisible in the deep sea, which is a good thing because otherwise, there are plenty of creatures that would make this jelly their dinner. What's even more fascinating is how their red coloring is thought to mask the glow of bioluminescent prey inside them, preventing predators from spotting them. Scientists believe this dual-purpose adaptation not only aids in camouflage but also enhances their hunting success. The cilia, when viewed closely, produce an iridescent shimmer as they move, giving these creatures an almost magical appearance. Despite their delicate and jelly-like structure, they are efficient predators of smaller planktonic creatures. The prey that the comb jelly itself catches is usually the sort of creature with all that bioluminescence. Without this red belly, the comb jelly would be all lit up from the inside by everything it had eaten for breakfast, and it might as well take out an ad that says, "Come and eat me." This clever adaptation protects the comb jelly from predators and allows it to hide out almost unnoticed in the depths while it hunts for its own food. Number 17. Rare anglerfish in California. Well, would you believe it? We've yet another mystery on our hands. Why can't news broadcasters find any other way to frame a story about things that wash up on the shore? Is it inherently mysterious and completely mystifying when things that live in the sea are found on the beach? Probably not, but to news crews all over the world, it seems as though this concept is one they simply can't wrap their tiny minds around. This anglerfish finding its way to the shore in San Diego was just simply too weird for some people. Anglerfish are found in seas all over the world, and this particular one is found in the Pacific, the ocean that borders San Diego. They live in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor, so they are among the oddest creatures. They have their own source of luminescence that they use with the weird fleshy thing that dangles from the top of their head. This lure is used to attract prey, like an angler with a fishing line. Anglerfish are really efficient hunters. They not only have a whole bunch of extremely unpleasant, sharp and pointy teeth but also gargantuan mouths. The anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of their head and can also extend to such a colossal width that these scary sea dwellers can swallow prey that is twice their size. Number 16. Mystery creature on Mexico beach. Well, here we are again with a mysterious sea monster discovered washed up on a beach. This one happens to be in Mexico, but much like all the others that seem to hit the headlines with clockwork regularity, the mystery element of it was quite short-lived. Naturally, people enjoy imagining that the gross, gelatinous goo is some sort of previously unknown species or perhaps the last of a lost dinosaur that somehow survived all this time. Even though there are certainly unknown elements in the oceans of the world, there are plenty of known ones as well, and some of them are rather large. It should come as no surprise that this rotting carcass turned out to be a recently deceased whale. It is a 13-meter-long carcass, which is not big enough to have been the whole thing. According to a marine scientist who examined it, the pile of decomposing gunk was once a sperm whale's head, or at least part of it. The sperm whale's bulbous head is full of strange substances that have been called spermaceti. Stop snickering at the back there. In old times, whalers used to think that this stuff was sperm in its head. However, this is a weird idea, and scientists have discovered that it is not. They actually don't really know what it is at all. There are a few ideas, but nobody knows for sure. The main thought is that the substance has something to do with the whale's amazing ability to dive really deep for long periods of time. Amazingly, sperm whales can hold their breath for around 90 minutes. There are still good numbers of these extraordinary creatures in the wild. They were the most popular whale for slaughter by the whaling vessels of the 18th and 19th centuries. They are also a source of another weird substance called ambergris, which is a stinky, greasy wax made within the whale's digestive system. Even though it basically smells of whale poo, it is used in perfume making as well. Now it's time for today's topic. In the deepest, darkest parts of our oceans, mysteries continue to unfold. A group of marine biologists, armed with cutting-edge submersibles and cameras, recently stumbled upon something that left even the most seasoned scientists speechless. This deep-sea creature, resting silently on the ocean floor, looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie rather than Earth's waters. Nicknamed the Sphere Octopod by researchers, this massive creature was discovered in an area so remote and uncharted that it's as if the ocean itself was hiding a secret. Its bulbous, alien-like body is covered in what appear to be enormous suction cups, each one large enough to engulf a basketball. The creature's many tentacles stretch out across the seabed like an intricate web, making it resemble a cross between a classic octopus and something straight out of an alien invasion. Scientists believe this might be a previously unknown species that has evolved uniquely in the extreme conditions of the deep sea. Some speculate that the creature uses its massive suction cups to anchor itself against powerful underwater currents, while others wonder if this is nature's bizarre attempt at camouflage. The discovery has reignited debates about the mysteries of the deep. Is this a natural evolution or something weirder? As always, the ocean holds its secrets close, waiting for us to uncover them. Number 15. Mysterious wiggling creatures. Well, here we are on Green Hills Beach in Sydney, Australia, with a bunch of early risers who seem to have been scared, bemused, or just downright confused by clams on the beach. Are they beach newbies? No? Then what in the world is their problem? These are a kind of clam-like sea creature that appear to have washed up in large numbers on this Australian beach. They were all mostly attached in large clumps with seaweed. On closer inspection, they are moving in a slow and non-threatening way, of course, but yes, they did move around, and it naturally freaked a lot of people out. Their sluggish movements, paired with their eerie numbers, gave an almost otherworldly vibe to the scene. A few curious beachgoers tried to poke them with sticks, only to recoil in surprise as the creatures wiggled back slightly. Children ran back to their parents, nervously laughing as they pointed at the peculiar spectacle. For others, the sight was more intriguing than alarming, with some even recording videos to share online. There were also others that were not moving, and this led non-experts who were on the beach to conclude that those ones were dead and that others, well, they were just doing a last dance before they too would perish in the sand. Oh, what a fun one. Number 14. Mysterious sea creature in the Philippines. When a creature dies in water and it's left to float about a bit, all kinds of gross things can happen to their body. Some of those things can make it kind of difficult to identify what the animal may have been when it was previously alive. I know this is kind of upsetting, but this is also why there are so many of these mysterious alien creature stories. Sorry to be a big old party pooper, but it's time that we all face some facts. So when this apparently mysterious, hairy blob washed ashore in the Philippines, it only took a few random snaps on someone's phone and a quick upload to social media before a bunch of bright sparks took it upon themselves to poke their own decidedly unqualified oars in and give the mess a good stir. Some of the extremely quick-witted suggestions included the speculation that the unfortunate 20-foot-long creature was an old English sheepdog. I mean, really? 20 feet long? Or it was a poor old dead sea cow. Somewhat boringly, the local Filipino authorities stepped in to clear up the conundrum, and presumably the rotting 2,000-kilogram carcass as well, and released a statement that said it was actually a dead whale. Yes, it turns out that when a whale is decomposing in water, its flesh can turn white and begin collapsing in such a way as to appear kind of hairy. I hope nobody was eating their dinner during this number. Number 13. Mysterious creature in Georgia. Again in 2018, which was apparently quite the big year for mysterious creatures washing ashore, we have yet another monster carcass causing a kerfuffle. This time we're in the southeastern part of Georgia, United States, at a place that is rather excitingly called Wolf Island. The decomposing remains of what was initially seen as another mysterious creature had washed up on the shore and were discovered by some guy named Jeff. Naturally, he did absolutely zero research, nor did he use the vast knowledge of the Park Service at Wolf Island National Wildlife Refuge. Instead, he took a whole load of pictures and sent them to all the media outlets he could to get lots of lovely attention for his discovery. Experts in marine stuff have, however, weighed in and said that from the pictures, it is not possible to tell if the creature was even real or if it was a hoax inspired by a local legend. Some marine scientists have hesitantly said that it bears a resemblance to a frilled shark, which is a deep-sea dweller, but without specimens, it's not possible to make an accurate conclusion. There is a local story about a creature called the Altamaha, which is a sort of Loch Ness monster-type legend. Some artist impressions of the mythical beast do seem to bear a resemblance to the thing that was found on the beach. But the scientists at the local marine biology department of Jacksonville University say there is not even any evidence that the body was real. It's just as likely to have been a hoax based on local myth. So there you go, how very inconclusive. Number 12. Locals puzzled by massive sea creature. It doesn't seem as if this would be an especially difficult object to identify, but apparently, people seem to be functioning on limited brain cells when it comes to stuff that washes up on the beach. According to most news reports, whenever any gross, dead, and decomposing carcass is washed onto the shoreline pretty much anywhere in the whole entire world, well, they would have you believe that all the local people, the ones who have lived their lives there, are all just standing around going, gosh, I'll be darned. What in the world could this possibly be? Nobody knows. I tell you, it's a total mystery. All while they stand next to a stinking, rotting heap of whale blubber. Seriously, here we are yet again on another beach in Indonesia, and people seem to have literally no idea what this massive dead whale could possibly be. The huge pinkish, bleeding, rotting corpse was indeed a 50-foot-long bride's whale. Now, I grant you, if you're not a whale scientist, then narrowing down the exact species might be tricky. But this is clearly a whale, right? Or am I wrong? What else could it possibly be? Answers in the comment section down below. Please, I know you want to. Number 11. Remains of sea creature in Namibia. We here at the Thought Trail do certainly love a gross mess that washes up on the beach. The more mysterious it might be, well, that's all the better. Bring on the gross, dead mystery creatures. We simply cannot get enough of them. This particular mess landed on a beach along the extremely beautiful coastal area of the Dorob National Park in Namibia, all the way back in 2018. Of course, as is always the case, so-called scientists were reported as saying they had no idea what it could be. This is a normal reaction for a person who uses science to determine things. It's necessary to gather information, compare it to data, and use all kinds of methodical techniques before making a sweeping judgment about something that may not be immediately apparent. The lack of a forthcoming naming of the expired creature is not proof of it being mysterious and alien. Rather, it just needs to be properly assessed before it can be determined for certain. After a brief period of time, the scientists did just that. They looked at the creature more closely, examined samples of its tissues, and determined that this was once a beaked whale. Not actually all that mysterious after all, now is it? Number 10. Huge furry sea monster washes up. This mysterious sea monster carcass washed up on the beach beside the Bering Sea. That's a very cold and feisty sea located between Alaska and Russia, spanning approximately 750,000 square miles. It's renowned for its rich marine biodiversity and supports a whole load of different species of fish, seals, whales, and seabirds. This gross and very smelly monster would be discovered on the shore near a village, and it's alleged to have had locals baffled as to what it could have actually been. But my guess is that they were not so dopey as to not have figured it out. This is evidently the decomposing body of a large marine mammal, likely a whale. These people live in one of the coldest and most insanely tough places on Earth, and they also live right next to a sea where there are many large and strange living things. Dead stuff is likely to wash up from time to time. And I know that it's super gross, but when something is dead, it begins to break down, and in water that can make for some unusual stylings. Oftentimes, the rotting muscles, ligaments, and other tissues become kind of stringy, almost hairy looking. So, Number 9. The Monto Monster. Back in 2008, a gross, bloodless, and bloated body washed up on the shores of Montauk and Long Island, New York, and everyone freaked out. Well, you probably would, wouldn't you? Anyways, this creature that soon became known as the Monto Monster was spotted there on the beach all day, dead and gross and stuff, and then it was just suddenly gone, and nobody seemed to know why. That's the perfect way to ensure that a mystery remains mysterious. Some witnesses claimed it had claws like a raccoon, while others argued its beak-like mouth resembled that of a turtle. Photos of the creature quickly went viral, sparking debates on whether it was a hoax or some bizarre new species. Conspiracy theorists latched onto the story, speculating that secret experiments from the nearby lab had gone terribly wrong. The lack of an official explanation only fueled the frenzy, making the Monto Monster a topic of endless fascination and debate. Plenty of people weighed in with a bunch of dopey ideas, as people are wont to do, and the myth of the Monto Monster was born. There was speculation that it was a strange mutant creature that had been accidentally created in a lab at the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Naturally, there were plenty of people who said it was aliens. But what do you think about it? I'm going with it was a sheep that had been in the water for a while. But how about you? Let me know what you think the Monto Monster was in the comments section down below. Number 8. Blobfish. Oh, look at these guys. With a face like Mr. Meow or a piece of rude graffiti, the poor old blobfish gets a whole bunch of abuse. Declared by some to be the ugliest animal in the world, the blobfish is kind of fascinating. Their features can be eerily human but usually in a comical way, like a grumpy-faced old cartoon grandpa rather than that of a spooky human face that you sometimes see other animals sporting. The blobfish has a big, gelatinous head with huge lips and small eyes and often a particularly displeased expression. You'd probably look a bit cross if people kept making jokes about your face as well. These unfortunate fish belong to a family of sea creatures usually known by the more common name of fathead sculpin. These guys, well, they just can't catch a break. The blobfish is perfectly adapted to where it lives. Its gelatinous appearance is the result of having very few bones. Living at depths of 2,000 feet, the pressure down there would crush other types of bodies. So, the blobfish's wobbly body doesn't seem so silly after all, now does it? Number 7. Deep Sea Anglerfish. As we've already seen, anglerfish are pretty interesting and, well, pardon me, but they're also kind of super ugly. In our seas, there are actually more than 200 species of these gruesome fishes. They're all equipped with that fabulously useful fleshy lure in one form or another. That's the feature that all the different shapes and sizes of anglerfish share. They are at their best deep-sea fishing. These fish can grow up to a terrifying 4 feet in length. Imagine that swimming out of the darkness and toward you. There are some quite famous sorts like the black sea devil, and then the less well-known but still fascinating bottom dwellers like the sea toads. In some species of anglerfish, the males have extremely tiny bodies, and they have such a simplified body that they basically just attach onto a female and live like a parasite. It's believed that this allows the female to access more food as it saves energy. Well, for the males anyway. Their sole aim seems to be to find a female and mate. Number 6. Huge oarfish on California shore. Back in 2013, a weird thing happened in California when 2 giant oarfish washed up on the shore within a week of each other. Not so weird, you may think, until you find out that these things are actually super rare, and they live in extremely deep waters, literally thousands of feet down. So, what business they had rocking up all dead and stinky in California? Well, that's anyone's guess really. They are the longest of all bony fish, growing up to a humongous 56 feet long. Another reason these big guys are seldom seen is probably because they taste disgusting. Described as gelatinous goo, the giant oarfish has avoided becoming a sought-after fish simply by being too gross to eat. Dude, I'm sorry if you've ever heard a salty old tale of deadly encounters with a giant sea serpent. Well, this is one to give you a shiver. The oarfish, well, it is that sea serpent. And yes, they are real. But how much battling they actually do with fishermen and boats? Well, that's the fishy bit of the story. Already part of the myth and legend, the giant oarfish does seem to have some kind of mystical power. They're known to turn up just before an earthquake, like some kind of slippery soothsayer. And some sort of earthquake prediction is never exactly something to look forward to, least of all in California. Number 5. The Flapjack Octopus. This funny little creature is the Flapjack Octopus. It can be found sitting on the muddy seafloor, looking a bit like a pancake, hence the name, because in some parts of America, pancakes are called flapjacks. Despite its comical appearance, the Flapjack Octopus is a master of survival in its deep-sea habitat. It uses its webbed arms to glide effortlessly through the water, creating an almost hypnotic visual effect. When threatened, it can flatten its body even more to blend seamlessly with the ocean floor, making it nearly invisible to predators. This clever little creature is also known to curl its arms upwards while floating, mimicking the shape of an umbrella to confuse potential threats. This creature changes its appearance when it's swimming, though. When it swims, it looks a lot like a jelly, but then it floats, and that's when it turns into an umbrella. It's kinda cute, though, don't you think? Number 4. The Gulper Eel. The Gulper eel, which is also known as the pelican eel, is one of the most unusual, and quite frankly most creepy, animals that you may ever come across in the deep seas of our incredible planet. Isn't gulper a fun word, though? Go on and say it, gulper. You see? Anyways, this gulper eel looks sort of like a standard eel, all long body and not much else, and they're related to all the other sea-based eels like the ugly old moray. These gulpers are black in color and are not exactly gigantic, not when they're compared to some of the other eel species anyways. These guys are, on average, only between 2 and 3 feet in length. These sea creatures live in the deep ocean and can be found at depths anywhere between 1,600 and 10,000 feet below the surface. But what actually makes them freaky and fascinating is their ginormous gulping mouth. It doesn't just go around with a big old wide open mouth all the time. The gulper eel is able to expand its mouth like a big balloon so that it can swallow its prey. Afterwards, the eel deflates its mouth and then returns to its regular old eel-shaped body. These mysterious sea creatures are really very seldomly seen, so not that much is actually known about them. That adds to the overall creep factor, now doesn't it? Number 3. The deep-sea hatchet fish. Well, where this guy gets its name is a bit of a no-brainer now, isn't it? Obviously, the hatchet-like shaped body captured the oh-so-imaginative naming wizards at the Deep Sea Fish Investigation Naming Bureau, or wherever it is that the naming of things actually happen. It's a member of a ridiculously unpronounceable family of deep-sea-dwelling fishes. There are about 45 different species within this particular gang. They vary in size from about 6 inches all the way down to a titchy 1-inch wonder. They also have that bioluminescent ability that so many deep dwellers seem to have. They use it to create a counter-illumination that helps them escape predators by lurking in such a way as not to appear darker if they're viewed from below. It's quite clever stuff, apparently, for people in the know in the world of hatchet fish. There's also a kind of freshwater hatchet fish, and these are the sorts that people often have in their home aquariums, not these exciting deep-sea sorts with the shape of a dangerous set blade. I mean, who knew? Isn't this a thrill ride of nightmare fish? We've never known such fun. Number 2. The Canary Island Monster. Back in 1953, a weird carcass washed up on the beach at Canary Island in Essex, in the UK. It was big and gross and freaked people out because they couldn't figure out what it was. Then, the following year, an even bigger one washed up, and people started calling it the Canary Island Monster. Speculations ran wild, with some locals convinced it was a prehistoric creature that had somehow survived extinction. Others thought it might be an unknown species brought to shore by unusual tides. Rumors spread quickly, with tales of the monster reaching newspapers and fueling all sorts of wild theories. Despite the growing hysteria, no one seemed willing to take a closer scientific look at the creature, perhaps out of fear or simply due to the lack of proper resources at the time. I mean, they didn't have Google back then or a whole bunch of apps to identify things, but I would go so far as to say that they had eyeballs and could probably determine that it was just a fish. They had books and could probably go look up what sorts of fish had that kind of big mouth and jagged tooth appearance. But who the heck am I to judge? What do you think the big old gross dead fish was? Go on and tell me all about it down below. Number 1. Japanese spider crab. The largest crabs in the world, the Japanese spider crabs, have 10 legs, so they can span as much as 12.5 feet and weigh almost 20 kilograms. They're big enough to consume a human child. Masters of camouflage, these Japanese spider crabs live at a depth of 150 to 200 meters, where they use the stuff all around them to cover their shells and blend into the environment, becoming almost invisible to their predators. That may account for how they can live for up to 100 years, with some of them surviving even longer than that. However, these oversized crustaceans are more likely to be hunted by octopus or stingray than to be much of a threat themselves. They are scavengers, generally finding their food in the leftovers and decaying debris of animals and plants that are on the bottom of the ocean floor. There are plenty of legends around these creatures, though, and as much as they may not kill a human when alive, they do have no problem gorging on any dead bodies that might find their way to the ocean's depths. The Japanese spider crab is really only minding its own business, just being a big old crab and cleaning up a lot of gross and dead stuff. Well, that's about all the creepy stuff we've uncovered from the depths of our oceans and seas around the world. Which of these weird creatures sparked your imagination? Let me know all about it in the comments section below. Don't forget to check out the other cool content popping up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.